Hey guys, I hope everyone's having a wonderful new year and things are going well for everyone. But just want to talk about something real quick about the Spirit of God being poured out on everyone in the end times. And what I'm seeing is that this Spirit of truth that's being poured out on basically everything right now. There's just such an overwhelming spirit of truth. You look at what's happening in Hollywood with the Harvey Weinstein things and all of that stuff. A lot of stuff is coming to light that was otherwise hidden for a very long time. There's other areas as well. We could, you could even go into the Kennedy stuff. The files coming out. There's a lot of different things that were hidden that are now starting to come to light. One of the things I'm seeing as well is there's a lot of, I wouldn't call them secular, but there's a lot of people that don't necessarily hold the same belief that Jesus is Lord, or that the Mandela effect, or these things that are going on, this awakening is really tied directly to what Christ has said about the end times. But they're still speaking truth, or have been revealed truth, even if some of the interpretations of it is incorrect. And what I'm getting at there is, in Revelations it talks about being either hot or cold, and not lukewarm. That God would prefer that you're either hot or cold. Because here's the thing: if you're hot, if you're on fire, and you are seeking truth, and you're just steadily walking hand in hand with God, and you're just really stoking those the flames of that relationship with God, you're right where you need to be. If you're cold, let's say you're an atheist and you're really you're just a staunch atheist, and you're gonna just seek out to either prove God isn't real, or if you believe it and you still are seeking truth, let's say you've arrived at that conclusion, but you still desire truth. If you're in that state of mind, God can still use you. There's been countless examples of that. I want to, Saul of Tarsus, he was actively seeking to, persecuting the church. He was actually seeking Christians to kill. You don't get much colder than that. That's as anti-God, anti-Christ as you can get. But he was converted on that road. He was cold as you can get on that spectrum. Lee Strobel, one of the Christian apologists, he's an atheist who set out to disprove God. He was as cold as you can get. He did not like the idea of God, didn't want to have anything to do with him. But guess what? He sought truth about the matter, and he found it. C.S. Lewis, same thing. He was an atheist who ended up discovering Christ because he sought truth about the matter. And if you look at different people in Scripture that were cold, Jonah, he was actively running away from what God wanted him to do. Moses had left to go live in, away from his people, and was away from God, and it took a burning bush, speaking to him, and even then he's still basically saying, hey, I don't have a voice, I don't have the ability to talk well, but guess what? God's still using him. But these were people that were cold. There was no. The problem with being lukewarm, and this is a big issue. If you're lukewarm, you actually put yourself in a mindset where you believe that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're going to church, you're going through those motions, but you're not doing enough to where you really care that you do or don't have a relationship with God, but you're pretending that you do, and you're putting on airs with other people, and and I'm talking about myself. A few months ago, I was kind of in that same boat where I would have considered myself a lukewarm Christian, and lukewarm Christians aren't going to be in the kingdom. I don't believe that's going to be the case, because God does say that he will spit you from his mouth if you are lukewarm, that he would rather you be hot or cold, because he knows where you stand there, and you know where you stand there. If you're cold, you know where you stand. If you're hot, you know where you stand. The problem is, if you're lukewarm, you actually probably think you're hot, or you may think you're cold. It's you're in that middle, and you're not able to. You don't think you need God, but you pretend that you do. Everything about being lukewarm is just it's just wrong, and that's why God he looks at it so negatively. So here's my prayer for you guys. I know a lot of you guys are already seeking truth and looking for God, and really desiring to have that relationship with Jesus. But here's my prayer for people that might be an atheist, or might be lukewarm, or you might be riding the fence, like, hey, I don't know what this Mandela effect thing is. Or even if you're not Mandela affected, if you're just, I've got a couple subscribers that are just, I don't know if they're Mandela affected or not. I've visited a lot of just straight Christian YouTube channels and made some comments there. But if you're just kind of on the fence about the whole thing, and you're not sure whether God's real or Jesus is real, or you're not sure what to believe, here's what I'm going to tell you: seek truth. Just pray for truth. God has set these spiritual laws in place, these spiritual truths that if you seek truth, you're going to find it. There's nothing that the devil can do if you are earnestly seeking truth about a matter. There's nothing that he can do to stop it. What he will try to do is stop that desire for truth. He'll try to squash that desire to know truth, and that's where you become lukewarm. That's where you become complacent in whatever it is that's going on in your life. You get blinded by life. You get stuck in the mire. You get just overwhelmed by whatever it is that's going on, and that desire for truth, that desire to know truth, that's the only thing that's Satan's number one goal, is to squash that desire. If you have that desire and you don't know a thing about Jesus, if you have a desire to know truth, guess what? Jesus will reveal to you. He will reveal to you himself. And it will come in a way that will be virtually undeniable. We look at coincidences in our lives, and like I said, I haven't seen any coincidences that haven't been from God when I really got to think about it. But that conversation, that person that you bump into, whatever it might be, that comes up, don't be so quick to write it off. Really start to take a step back, and if you've been praying for something, if you've been praying for a revelation about something, specifically truth, and something happens to where a gospel tract is stuck in your door, and you've been praying like, hey God, if you're real, just show yourself to me. Hey God, just reveal truth to me. Don't write that off. Don't write it off. Anyway, guys, I just I think that this whole Spirit of God being poured out on all flesh, that this has a lot to do with it, and there will be an awakening among His people in the last days, and He'll be calling people that otherwise wouldn't have been called. There's an old saying, what is it? God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. That's true, guys. Me personally, I never would have been making any kind of videos like this a year ago. If you would have said, hey, in 1 year you're going to be making videos where you're talking about Jesus on the internet, no, I would have been like, no, I'm not, but I'm not a pastor. All I can say is that I love Jesus, and I really have a desire for His Word. I have a desire for His truth, and I'm seeking it. I'm seeking it every day, and it's changing me. It's changing who I am. It's changing who I was. I'm losing friends, and I'm gaining some friends as a result. But like I say, guys, just seek truth. That's my prayer for you guys. If you don't know truth, seek it with all of your heart. Seek it with everything you are, and you're going to find it. All right, guys. God bless.